Imagine this. It's 2008. The world's biggest banks are collapsing. Trillions of dollars vanish overnight. CEOs are panicking. Governments are scrambling. And the entire global economy is seconds away from falling apart. This isn't fiction, it's real. In Too Big to Fail, journalist Andrew Ross Sorkin takes us behind the closed doors of Wall Street in Washington during the 2008 financial crisis, giving us a front-row seat to the most intense financial drama in modern history. This isn't just a story about money, it's about human greed, fear, pride, and survival. Let's dive in. 1. The calm before the storm. Before the crash, the U.S. economy looked unstoppable. Banks were booming. Housing prices were soaring. Wall Street was celebrating record profits. But beneath the surface, something toxic was growing: subprime mortgages. Banks were giving home loans to almost anyone, then repackaging those loans into complex financial products called mortgage-backed securities. Everyone was making money. Nobody wanted to stop. Lesson: when everyone believes the good times will never end, that's when danger is already knocking. 2. Lehman Brothers, the domino that fell first. Lehman Brothers, one of the oldest and most respected investment banks, had made billions on risky mortgage investments. But when housing prices began to fall, their empire started to crumble. Sorkin takes us inside the boardrooms as CEO Dick Fuld desperately tries to save the firm, begging for buyers, pleading with regulators, and watching everything fall apart. Lehman Brothers collapses in September 2008, the largest bankruptcy in U.S. history. Lesson: no company is too powerful to fail when arrogance meets bad bets. 3. Panic on Wall Street. Lehman's fall was like pushing the first domino. Credit markets froze. Confidence vanished. Even giants like AIG, Merrill Lynch, Morgan Stanley, and Goldman Sachs were suddenly on the brink of collapse. Sorkin paints the chaos vividly: phone calls at midnight, emergency meetings at the Federal Reserve, and billion-dollar deals being made and broken in a matter of hours. Lesson: in a global economy, one failure can trigger a chain reaction that threatens everyone. 4. The government steps in. As panic spread, the U.S. Treasury and Federal Reserve realized the crisis was spiraling out of control. Key players emerged. Hank Paulson, U.S. Treasury Secretary, and former Goldman Sachs CEO. Ben Bernanke, Chairman of the Federal Reserve. Tim Geithner, President of the New York Fed. These men faced an impossible choice. Let capitalism take its course, or bail out the biggest banks in history. Lesson: when financial giants fall, it's not just their problem, it's everyone's. 5. The bailouts begin. The government intervened with emergency loans and rescue packages. AIG received $85 billion to prevent total collapse. Merrill Lynch was forced to sell itself to Bank of America. And Congress approved the controversial TARP program, $700 billion to stabilize the system. Critics called it a bailout for billionaires. Supporters argued it saved the global economy. Lesson: sometimes saving the system means making morally uncomfortable choices. 6. Inside the rooms where it happened. One of the book's strengths is how Sorkin puts you inside those rooms. He describes the fear, the shouting, the negotiations that went on through sleepless nights at the Federal Reserve. You see CEOs like Jamie Dimon, J.P. Morgan, Lloyd Blankfein, Goldman Sachs, and John Thain, Merrill Lynch, fighting not just for their companies, but for their reputations and legacies. Lesson: the crisis wasn't driven by evil villains, it was driven by flawed humans under immense pressure. 7. Too big to fail, the core idea. The phrase "too big to fail" became the symbol of the crisis. It refers to companies so large and interconnected that their collapse would devastate the entire economy. So the government couldn't let them fail, even if it meant saving the same people who caused the disaster. Lesson: when businesses are too big to fail, ordinary citizens often end up paying the price. 8. Aftermath, lessons learned and forgotten. The crisis exposed the weaknesses of the global financial system. Too much leverage, borrowing. Too little oversight. Too much greed and short-term thinking. New regulations like Dodd-Frank were introduced to prevent another meltdown. But as Sorkin suggests, the deeper issue remains: as long as human behavior doesn't change, the same mistakes could happen again. Lesson: financial reform means nothing if we forget the human lessons behind it. 9. Heroes, villains, and survivors. Sorkin doesn't paint anyone as purely good or bad. Hank Paulson is portrayed as a man torn between public duty and his Wall Street past. Ben Bernanke comes across as a quiet, analytical leader trying to save the system through logic and calm. Dick Fuld is the tragic figure, once powerful, now powerless. Lesson: crises reveal character, who panics, who leads, and who takes responsibility. 10. The big takeaway. Too Big to Fail isn't just a history book, it's a warning. It shows how fragile our financial system really is, and how a few decisions in closed rooms can affect billions of lives. Here's what it teaches us. Complexity without accountability is dangerous. Greed disguised as innovation can destroy economies. And ultimately, trust, not money, is the foundation of the financial system. So, what do you think? Should the government have bailed out the banks, or let them collapse? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, I'd love to hear your take. If you enjoyed this breakdown of Too Big to Fail, hit that like button, subscribe for more book summaries that turn complex topics into real stories, and share this with anyone who wants to understand how close we came to a complete financial collapse. Because in the end, this isn't just history, it's a warning for the next time greed and risk push the system too far.